Hello everyone, Hyperion here, and in this video I will show you how to do the maximum DPS on Zul Mythic. Now, I realize that rankings are disabled on this fight and it's not technically a parsing fight, but I never uploaded a video from a Frost DK perspective, so in this video I will go through my talent builds, azerite traits, and kind of how I approach this fight as a Frost DK. First of all, for talents, the only deviation we will make is that we run Gathering Storm instead of Frostworm's Fury. For azerite traits, I suggest running one Frozen Tempest, but if you have two Frozen Tempests, definitely do that and then run one Archive. But if you only have one Frozen Tempest, then you can go with double Archive. This video was recorded a few weeks ago and I didn't have my second Archive trait back then, so I was running three different azerite traits. But as long as you have one Frozen Tempest, one Archive, the third trait doesn't matter all that much. So going into the fight here, you obviously want to pre-pot, and then your first global will be Gathering Storm because you want to proc that azerite trait as soon as possible. Now, if you have rogues in your group, you kind of want to hold off on pressing your cooldowns because you want the rogues to get the burst off as soon as they can, and you don't just want to massacre all of the adds and prevent them from doing damage. So basically, about when the first wave of adds dies, when the Krogs die, that's when you want to pop your Breath of Sindragosa. Now, if you don't run rogues in your group, you can do this a little earlier, but I actually found this to be pretty beneficial because you can go up to basically 100 runic power, and once the Krogs respawn, then you will actually get more target cleave because the very first wave will die way too quickly, so you will miss out on a little bit of damage. But on opener, it doesn't really matter all that much when you pop Breath of Sindragosa. So my suggestion is, if you have rogues, then wait until the first set of Krogs dies. If you don't have rogues, you can just go with default opener. Then from there on, our goal is to basically get as much cleave as possible. You want to use Remorseless Winter on cooldown because you want to be proccing that azerite trait whenever you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies and your Remorseless Winter hits them, you instantly get a Howling Blast proc, which is a huge amount of damage overall. Now you actually see me use my second potion here, which I did because we wanted to push the boss before the second wave of caster adds. But if your guild is not making that check, or you're purely just interested in doing the most DPS possible overall, not just boss damage, then hold off on the second potion until you move into the second phase. But if you actually want to just kill the boss and want to help push the boss a little bit sooner, then you can second pot basically with your second or third Pillar of Frost. So here we're pushing the boss, and I will use Death's Advance to prevent the knockback. It's just a nice little trick you can do here. Then as soon as this Crusher gets back in, I'm going to turn on it and just damage it as much as possible. And through this fight, you see me use my Remorseless Winter on cooldown. Whenever there's Krogs, you want to have Remorseless Winter, and you want to be cleaving as many of them as possible. If you didn't pot in the first phase, this Breath of Sindragosa that's coming up here is the ideal spot to pop it. So I see that all of the Krogs are dead, and I know that they will be respawning, and as soon as they respawn, I pop my Breath of Sindragosa because this will give me the maximum amount of damage on them, because my breath is likely to run out before the Krogs die. If you pop it when all the Krogs are at like 30% HP, then they might die before your breath runs out, so you miss out on damage. You have to be very, very careful whenever you pop cooldowns on these Krogs, because like as you saw there, as soon as I popped my Breath of Sindragosa, I had aggro on every single one of them. So there was a nice little CC chain there that allowed me to move out. I even popped my IBF just to make sure I survive. But you have to be very, very mindful of your aggro, because when there's that many targets, your tanks will have a very difficult time actually picking all of them up. And that's one reason why I don't run Frostworm's Fury. Whenever we get to this last phase, you can do an absolute huge amount of damage with Frostworm. However, the big issue is that as soon as you press it, you will have aggro on absolutely everything that it hit except for the boss. So you're very, very likely to die as soon as you press it. But with Gathering Storm, you just get more consistent damage throughout the fight. So I ended that fight at 45.7k with a few minor adjustments. I could have probably done closer to 50 if I saved that second pot for the second phase, and then if I play a little more greedy. But you always have to be mindful of the rogue's damage, because the rogue's single target damage will outweigh your damage by like a factor of 2 to 2.5. So as long as you're pushing the boss and your rogues are not struggling to keep up combo points, you're good to AoE. But don't be too greedy, especially early on in the fight when there's a limited number of adds and your rogues are still trying to get those full combo points. If I remember correctly, this ended up being like a top 10 or something along those lines. But it doesn't matter anyway, since ranks are disabled on this fight with good reason. If you have any questions about this fight in particular, or just DK in general, please leave them in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.